Hello there, EFD squad, and welcome back to Continental Club, where we discuss the hottest topics in European football. Joining me as ever, it's Patrick Van Straten. That is a very fetching green tea you have on there, mate. Matches your eyes.
Yep.
Swim in those eyes.
Yep.
How are you? Seem chipper as ever?
Yeah, I'm good. Friday morning.
Long week.
Feel great.
Long.
Joe's not here
week.
though, so things are looking up.
It's the small wins, the little victories. Zach,
Yes.
conversely, you're always happy, aren't you, mate?
Indeed. No.
Bringing the positive vibe to the set.
Yeah, though I do have a bit of a cough today.
Oh yeah.
Little tickle
Go on
there.
about it.
Whinging, yeah.
I've been in all week, mate.
Well,
Been off as well.
Week.
If you think I look ill in videos, it's because I am. Anyway, let's dive into our first topic. We're not going with a fun question this week, lads. Controversially, we're going to talk a little bit about our latest project. It's gone live now at the same time as this video. It's FDFC.
Oh.
Very exciting times. You might not be able to tell from our, facades, but we are very excited about it. Lads, first and foremost, how have you found pre-season? We've been training with 442. They've been putting us through our paces. Bless them, trying their best to teach us how to train like pros. We are very average. But how have you found it, Pato?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I would like to have learnt a little bit more. At the moment, we're kind of focusing on team movements, which is good. But also, I would like to focus on how do you literally tackle someone? How do you do the basic things of football?
Fundamentals.
How do you avoid looking like a twat? Like, I mean, Zach's managed to avoid looking like a twat by being immediately benched for Kieran. First session, straight on the bench. So that helps you out.
Trouble in
I wouldn't quite
paradise.
say that. I think that's going to be one of the biggest things is who will start in goal.
Okay.
And whether it's up to the fans,
Kieran.
whether we decide it is still debatable.
We've got a few things to iron out,
Yeah.
haven't we?
There's still some
But
things that
we
could be
think the
happening.
fans should decide the majority
Yeah.
of the decisions that go down on FDFC, giving you guys the power. But how have you found pre-season? Big man in the sticks.
I found it really good. Like, it's obviously different when you're in goal. Obviously, you're not doing a lot of what you guys are doing outfield. And at the beginning of all the training sessions, we may not be as good, but then half an hour into it, we've improved, we've learned. And you can see improvements in the match footage that we've looked at. Like, we're using what we've learned, how to move the ball, how to defend, how to counter-attack, relatively well and better than I actually kind of thought we would.
Slow progression. It's almost as if there's nothing there to start with.
Yeah.
We're just learning
So
everything from
people are
scratch.
absorbing the information pretty well. Yeah, I missed a second session because I was ill. Hashtag sick note. But I found first session very good, purely on a fitness basis.
Yeah.
In that I
knackered.
realised I'm chronically unfit because running 10k on the treadmill in the gym is nowhere near the same
100%.
as doing small sprints in an attacking drill. I was absolutely dripping. My shirt changed colour. And our coach, who's called Ronaldo, by the way,
great. It's so
true
good.
story. I think they work for Pitt's Coaching, don't
Yeah.
they? They were roped in by 442 to help us out. They were brilliant. We've got some footage of that coming soon. You'll see it spliced into our first episode of Squad Goals, which, as I've mentioned, is live at current. Go and watch it after this, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. Let's ruminate about the squad a little bit. Who do you think is going to be top goal scorer?
Millad.
You know what? I
It will be Milan.
actually think Luca could be in with a chance.
Okay, you don't know Milad or Luca,
Just
but
wait.
you will do soon. Out of the guys on FD that they do know, who do you think will improve the most over the course of the season?
Ooh.
You'd imagine George will get better.
This is what I was thinking. George has actually a decent ability there, and to his credit, he can cross the ball in.
He's
which
got
is
an okay
decent at.
set piece delivery.
But he's got absolutely no fitness whatsoever.
Or strength.
Like everybody else, I reckon, on Football Daily and Euro Football Daily, could all like run a 5k and be all right. Like I think George is incredibly skinny,
Yeah.
but like has never done any fitness
Yeah.
of any kind in his life, which I admire about the man. But as a result, it means that like George is not the most dynamic player you've ever seen. Like he finishes off a lot of chances, but he doesn't really contribute to the team play, I'd say. So I reckon he'll get a load of goals. and because he'll stay up pitch, and then as the season goes on, his fitness gets better. I reckon he'll become an all-round weapon.
Yeah. Not only does he look like Sid the Sloth at the moment, he also plays like Sid the Sloth. I think Michael McCubbin or James Wayne.
Oh, James Wayne's
both of
a
the
great
FD
shout.
fame
James Wayne's
will improve slowly over the season. They've both got good engines.
Yes.
Michael did.
They're
just do
both
a
very
fight, right?
persistent, both very determined. So I think I'll opt for one of them. Okay, another interesting question. Who do you think is going to be the first to get sent off?
Oh, this is like without a doubt, Joe Tomlinson.
Really?
Oh my God.
He will love that you've said that.
Oh,
I
but
don't-
come
I
on,
don't
guys,
think he is at
Be
all.
honest, when he loses his head, we've seen it at
No,
five-a-side. He'll just try and break someone's
No, he
ankles.
doesn't. He says he will, but he's a
George
that's
Wright,
bollocks.
2 months ago.
Oh yeah, but that's George. Absolute bollocks. Okay, Joe likes to
George
give this
has no
impression
ligaments.
of being like real Larry and everything, that he'll get into a fight with anyone. But Joe's a pussycat, man. Like Joe's actually one of the peacemakers. Like when it kicks off, he'll be the one like telling Dave, telling Millad, telling us to calm down. I would actually think Millad, those people, Millad, Dave, and probably you and me. I think we've always got a shot at getting a red card.
Potentially. Yeah, I think I'd go for Millad or Jackson. Dave Jackson of VFN fame.
Very angry.
Can both get very riled when things aren't going their way, and I predict that will happen a lot to us this season. I anticipate a few ass whoopings at the start of this project. And hopefully, we'll transition out of that.
Yeah, we
and
hope.
maybe move on to a few credible draws. But who knows? Have you guys got any other questions that you think could be interesting to pose about the squad at this point? Obviously, we don't want to ruin the first video too much, so let's not try and step on our own toes here.
I've got one.
Go on.
What are our hopes for FDFC?
Oh, well,
Finish your
sort
game
of
with 11 men.
Yeah,
probably.
sort of tasked with launching this about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, true.
So not a lot of long-term thinking has been done, but in the short to medium term, one thing I'd like to do is get the fans to design our away kit.
Yeah.
So
I'll
we
be
have a
honest.
home kit and a training kit at the moment, don't we?
Yeah.
And that's a part of a larger scheme to get the fans more involved. How can we make FDFC different from everything that's currently out there already? Well, let's get the fans involved as real stakeholders.
100%.
Yeah, we definitely want to get some merch out there as well, so people can
Yes.
show their support. So some half and half scarves, us and Real Madrid or whoever we're up against.
Me, you.
Probably the Europa League. Actually, I reckon that's probably
Joe,
the limit of our
Dave,
ability. I think
Zach,
that'd be quite good.
Kieran.
Well, like I said, Zach on the bench. Zach, by the way, Zach will be the biggest sulker this season.
No.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee you get so frustrated. You stand there holding the ball and your voice gets all high when you're just like, no one's moving, no one's finding space.
Only,
You get so cross.
dogs can hear Zach after he concedes a goal.
He gets so angry.
I'll be honest. One of my worst traits is once my head drops, it's very hard for me to get back in.
People
the
are in
zone.
your head rent free
Yeah.
after you've made
Yeah.
the clanger.
Yeah.
But
But I think I'll be
tell
honest.
you
this
what,
is one
I
of
actually
those-
think you're the most you're the most well-rounded goalkeeper. Kieran's more capable of the exceptional save, the cat-like reactions. But I think you're probably, for me, the number one candidate. Don't tell Kieran. He probably won't watch this, so it won't matter.
Distribution.
We'll go back into the office and
And then
pretend
you'll
I
tell
didn't
him.
say that. But what else? What else, lads? Can you think of anything else to relay to the fine people?
Well, I'm really excited for this. Out of all the things we've ever done, this is like the number one for me.
And
we've been planning this for like
and
years.
hopefully we'll reintroduce. We'll introduce you to some real characters as the season progresses. Some great lads in the squad. Oh, I forgot to say as well, our first match will probably be in-house, won't it? FD versus EFD, 5 or 7 aside. Who do you think will win? Let us know in the poll above Zach's llama bonds. Next question is about the eyebrow. Yes, it's Carlo Ancelotti. A lot of you guys were asking, do you think he'll return to Chelsea after he was spotted at Stamford Bridge? Obviously, a lot of rumours that Antonio Conte is unhappy, the players are unhappy with their workload. But I've also heard that Ancelotti might be on his way to Croatia to manage them for their World Cup campaign, should they overcome Greece in the World Cup qualifying playoffs. They've been through a lot of managers since Bilic, 4 I believe since 2012. So maybe he'd bring a steady hand to what has been a little bit of a hectic period in Croatian football. I can see it. A lot of elderly statesmen like Hiddink, like Ancelotti, like Capello, all these sort of teams outside the top 10 are after them, aren't they? At any given moment in their career. So I could see him at Croatia. No, I couldn't actually. It's complete rubbish. I can't see him at Croatia.
Yeah, I also don't think like the steady hand thing. I see what you mean, as in like that's the thing we associate him with. You know, like bring him in when the squad's a bit ropey and like steadying it. But apparently they just want him to come in for the World Cup, accepting that then he would go back to club management. Now I get that, because if you were going to just manage a team for just a World Cup, I think Croatia would be quite fun. Obviously he's worked with Modric before and they've got some amazing midfield talent there.
Yeah.
But
Perisic.
Also you kind of think, why would he bother? Like, is he going to come in and institute a whole new system just for a tournament which frankly nobody expects them to go past the quarterfinals of? Like, it doesn't really make sense for me. I'm sure he's better than Dalic, but I'm not sure that the idea of having him just for that tournament is better than having a guy stay there consistently.
Maybe they're thinking he could come in, maybe reevaluate some protocols, you know, some boring stuff that we perhaps maybe wouldn't think of, help them handpick a new manager. Maybe it's more of an advisory role as well.
Sure.
And as you say, no great aspirations to win it. Kind of a golden generation is coming to the end of its lifespan in Croatian football. So maybe they'd bring him in to help usher in a new one. Zach, you're the Chelsea fan.
Yes.
Would you take Ancelotti back? Obviously, double winner, put together a very fun side to watch. They had a Nelka, bloody Drogba, who was it up front? Kalou, Malouda. That was a really entertaining side to watch, but surely you wouldn't be happy to see Conte go out the door.
I don't want anyone to replace Conte, but the one thing that worries me at the moment with Chelsea is that we're getting these losses against Burnley, against Crystal Palace. We're drawing to Roma at home in the Champions League, which I think we all admit Chelsea probably should have won before the match. But I wouldn't take him at all. Don't get me wrong, he's done great things when he was at Chelsea. And I think if you're Ancelotti and you want to come watch Chelsea v Roma, you could literally message anyone at Chelsea to let you in. I don't think that he's taken a photo there means anything at all.
It's just it's inflammatory headlines.
100%.
But hypothetically, if Conte did leave, which there have been consistent rumours of, would you take Ancelotti at Chelsea?
If he did leave and there was no other manager, of course he'd take him. He's a great backup, but I 100% don't think he'd be a permanent manager.
Okay.
I think
a little bit like Hiddink then, yeah?
Yeah, what we'd take would be a Thomas Tuchel, because the one thing I've always wanted Chelsea to have is a manager that is consistent, like Sir Alex Ferguson with Manchester United. I think it's maybe a bit of the times of football, like no club, maybe apart from Arsenal, has that. But I just want Chelsea to have a manager who will sit there for 5 years, make something, use the academy, use the place he's got, build something, rather than stay there for 3 years, then jog off to another club or get sacked after a string of bad games.
That's Abramovich's problem. But Abramovich was the issue there.
I hate that so much.
Like, I mean, the thing is, Ancelotti also, he isn't that guy. You're absolutely right. Like, he's not. The problem is, Ancelotti kind of exhausted the clubs which are suited to the way he operates. Like, Ancelotti is famous for having quite old-fashioned training methods. You know, come in, run around a bit, do an 11-a-side, which is apparently one of the things that annoyed the Bayern players after years of Pep, though of course they complained all the way during Pep as well. But he really needs like top-level talent to produce big results. Like, that's what he does. He gets a team working together, he gets them kind of functioning effectively quite quickly, but he's not going to reinvent your club. He's not going to give them a whole new style of play which will carry them through the next 10 or 15 years. This is why Arsenal doesn't make sense. People have mentioned Arsenal as a possible club for him to go to afterwards, and knowing Arsenal's board, I could see them thinking about it, but we shouldn't let the fact that Ancelotti's won a lot in his career distract from the fact that he isn't a great fit for Arsenal. They need somebody who's going to overperform on a small budget. That's something Ancelotti's never done. In fact, if you asked me to pick somewhere for Ancelotti to go and manage next that's suited to his talents, I'd say either Spain or France national teams.
Yeah.
I think that they could play the sort of formation he wants. He's probably still going to want to play 3 men in midfield if he can. They've both got great midfield talent. They've also got... The thing about national teams is they don't get a huge amount of time to work on tactics. You don't get to work with them every single week on tactics. So you need to have a relatively simple, effective system that gets the best out of the talent you've got. If I could define one, if I could suggest one manager who pretty much defines that, it is Carlo Ancelotti.
Imagine
So you don't
And of
think
course, he speaks the language of both those countries as well.
Of course, very intelligent man. So you don't think he's going to reinvent himself anytime soon, become that, fiery young coach that he was at Parma maybe,
I don't think he'll be managing for that much longer
drag
either.
drag a low-level team from out of the gutter.
I just
You think it has to be a big team or a national team?
I just think it was different. Like, I mean, in those days, like to get something out of Parma, like you didn't have to be able to do all the things you have to do now as a manager. We talk about players, how it's difficult for players now relative to how it used to be. All the things that are required and the tactical intelligence going both ways on the pitch. Like, the same is true of managers. Managers didn't have to coach pressing in the 90s. They had to just motivate their team. And they did have to have tactics, but it wasn't as tactically sophisticated as it is now, I don't think. As a general rule, managers don't reinvent themselves. There are very few who have. The only one who really ever did it with great success was Ferguson. We might be seeing Mourinho do it now. That's about it.
You got Pinecus to an extent. Obviously, 20 years between winning the Champions League with Real Madrid and Bayern. And now he's back at Bayern. Let's see the job he does at the tail end of this season. Well, not even the tail end. For the majority
whole
of this
season.
For the whole season, barring 4
ridiculous.
games. Yeah. In my opinion, I'll round this off nicely, lads. I don't think he'll go back to Chelsea. Although Abramovich doesn't mind getting things wrong or making cutthroat decisions very early doors, does he?
Not at all.
And sort of accepting the fact that, okay, this year's not going to be our year because the preparation was incorrect.
Well, you think about last year, he nearly, it was like one game in it with him sacking Conte last year. Imagine he'd done that. We wouldn't have won the Premier League.
They're not exactly. It's a little bit like Tuchel and Vodska at Dortmund. They're just not compatible personality-wise. Conte left Juve because they just went back in the transfer market to the extent that he wanted, because he wanted to challenge on the Champions League front, didn't he? I think he walked out of Barry as well, didn't he?
Well, yeah, when you're buying Danny Drinkwater on transfer deadline day.
£30 million though, it's a lot of money. But there is also a surplus of young, talented managers out there at the moment, isn't there? In Roger Schmidt, in Thomas Tuchel, as you mentioned. Julian Nagelsmann is obviously highly sought after. So yeah, where do you think Ancelotti will end up, guys? Does national football beckon? Let us know in the comments below. Last but not least, let's talk about some reports that have emerged from Italy, namely from Calcio News 24. Not sure how reliable they are, but they reckon that Juventus have joined the race with Barcelona for Dortmund's wunderkid Julian Weigl, the very talented, deep-lying playmaker. Lads, what team needs him more? Coming to you first, Van Straten.
I don't know if they need him more, but I could definitely see him fitting in at Juventus. It looks like Allegri has been trying to mould Pjanic into this deep distributor role, like basically into the kind of Pirlo role.
Regista.
He used to protect Pirlo with Pogba and Vidal, and now he's trying to protect Pjanic with Khedira and Matuidi, which is a significant downgrade in all positions, I think. Pjanic is a really good final third passer, and he's great at wriggling out of pressure, but he's not a central midfielder. He doesn't put up remotely respectable defensive numbers. And I think that having him there, obviously to compensate for the loss of Bonucci, they need somebody who can pass out of the back, really kind of takes away from his skill set. I think it'd be better if they could push him forward and play a guy who already is suited to that role, and that is Julian Weigl. He's great at wriggling out of pressure. Puts up decent defensive numbers. I think 3 tackles and interceptions per 90 this season. Previously, that's been up in the 4 to 5 range, so he's capable of doing a big defensive role. Really, really good passer with both feet. I think that he'd actually kind of suit them perfectly. I'd be intrigued to see how that went.
So do you think if he came in and Higuain was slowly phased out in the next year, 2 years, and Dybala took over that centre forward role, do you think Pjanic would play 10 and be better at 10? Because he's put up very good goals and assists, hasn't he? More so than Pogba.
Yeah, he's always produced. He's an exceptional passer. You could play a 3-man midfield because Khedira, Marquisio, and Matuidi, none of them terribly young. So you'll probably need to be thinking, is Bentancur going to come in there? And then they've got those 3 together.
He's made a great start.
That would be interesting to see. It's hard to tell what's actually going to happen there because a lot of these guys are aging out. Higuain, Mandzukic, a lot of them are reaching kind of the twilight of their career. So it would give him just options going forward. I think he could play a double pivot with Weigl. He could play that Regista role protected by 2 kind of shuttlers, or he could change formation entirely and do something a bit more interesting. The other one for me is we've heard rumours that Man City would be interested in him.
Okay.
And I actually think they desperately need him. What do you reckon?
I think I 100% agree. I think at the moment, out of all their players, they've got great players, but they don't have someone like him. They've tried filling the spot at the moment with Kevin De Bruyne, but he's so good going. He can play anywhere, let's be honest. But he's so good going forward. You kind of want him there. He doesn't really have the best defensive output. They've also tried Fabian Delph as well. I remember against Chelsea, although he played at left back, when they attacked, he would fit into centre mid, and Kyle Walker would come as a second.
Like an auxiliary midfield.
Exactly.
Midfield,
and that basically essentially won them the game. It meant Kevin De Bruyne was free to score that goal, and he just overloaded Chelsea's midfield. But I think for £50 million as well, especially in today's market, it's not that much. I think any team of the three.
No, I actually think
could
Calcium News
afford.
24 are underselling him.
Yeah, he probably a lot more, and he's still very young. I think he's only played something like 4 games, or started 4 games at Dortmund this season, and I think he's been output by like Castro.
Okay, so maybe
Castro's great.
maybe Peter Bosch doesn't value his skill set as highly as Thomas Tuchel did, but it doesn't take a genius to work out that he's going to be a great player. Okay, I'll take Barcelona then. Maybe at Barcelona he'd relieve a little bit of pressure on Busquets in that pivot role. He's good enough to play there probably, although that's not strictly his game. Might take a bit of the burden off Iniesta in terms of shifting the ball up the pitch. As you say, he can move past the man. He's got good mobility, although he's not the fastest. He is quite big and strong, isn't he? He's deceivingly tall for quite a slight player. I mean, they've just invested in Paulinho, haven't they? He's fitted in well. Gives them a good box-to-box option. He is 30. Ernesto Valverde has been playing 4-4-2 as well. He's brought back Rakitic into the side, but Rakitic is demonstrating a little bit of a resurgence in form. So to go after Weigl in January might be a bit of a slap in the face to him. I think the Barcelona squad looks quite settled, and they've spent a lot of money, haven't they? And they need to invest a lot of money in their new stadium, and the infrastructure isn't fantastic at the moment in Catalonia. So I think if you're going to get Dortmund, know if they get 3 top clubs competing for one player, they can drive that price right up. And I think,
especially one of the City,
out of the 3, that discounts Barcelona. That hampers Barcelona's chances the most. Although I feel like, again, similar to Juve, they've got Busquets, who's approaching 30 and who's not had a break in a significant amount of time. You've got Iniesta, who's 34 now, and even though he's playing great at the start of this season, he's often looked jaded at the tail end of seasons in a couple of years gone by. So yeah, they could use a fantastic talent like him. Who couldn't? You know, take him at Celtic. You can be Scott Brown's heir to the throne, King of Glasgow, Scottish Vidal. But yeah, what a way to round that off. Where do you think he should go? Let us know in the comments below. So that was this week's Continental Club, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll be retaking your submissions next week on Twitter, so get them in as the week progresses. Pao, news from other channels.
Yeah, 90+1 Facts has a video on Pep Guardiola, which I believe went live yesterday. I want to say yesterday anyway. More great facts about the bald maestro. What more could you want?
And then, the greatest channel to be launched, FDFC. Go check it out. Squad Goals Part 1 has just gone live. You'll see all these familiar faces. Go subscribe. Bye.
What you said.